Are we live? Are we live? Are we live? Are we live? Devils make a decision that should have came months ago, but finally comes here with just a handful of games to go here in the season. They fired GM Tom Fitzgerald, but I can't talk about any of that until I know that we are live. So somebody let me know if in the comment section if we're live, and let me know if my mic's working because I know that in the past couple episodes this has been kind of wonky. So somebody let me know if it's working, and then we will go and react to what is a whopper of a news dump here on Monday, April 6th, 2026. Again, with just a handful of games to go, the Devils make the decision, make the bold decision. Or I guess I can't really call it bold because it came far too late. But moving on from Tom Fitzgerald, I don't care what the statement says. The statement can say whatever the heck it wants. They parted other ways. I hate it. Just you show some conviction and say you fired Tom Fitzgerald because that's exactly what you did, right? Um, Although it was a little weird to see. This is kind of one of the weirder statements that I've seen in my short media career here. Let's share the screen here and just kind of like just show the strange nature of this. Look, Tom Fitzgerald gives a statement himself in the statement where they're announcing his firing. Is that not weird to everybody else? I think it's a little odd to me. But here it is in its entirety, the full statement from the New Jersey Devils managing partner, David Blitzer, blah, 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 blah. Announced today Tom Fitzgerald will depart from the organization. Um, Served there for 6 years. And here's Blitzer's statement. Tom and I had a thoughtful conversation today. We agreed it was time to move in a new direction. Tom changed the trajectory of our team here, including setting a franchise record for points in a season and helping make New Jersey a hockey destination. He's a well-respected leader across the Devils organization and NHL, and I'm grateful for our friendship. I wish Tom and his family all the best as we prepare to move forward. It is important I acknowledge our fans. I recognize that we have not delivered in the way you expect and deserve, and I understand and share your frustration. This is a critical offseason for our franchise. This is me speaking now. That's an understatement. Understatement of the century there, David Blitzer. And we will explore all avenues that best position the Devils to compete for a Stanley Cup once again. And then again, you have the Tom Fitzgerald side of the statement. After talking with David Blitzer, it was apparent to everyone that the best course of action is to move on for the benefit of the team. I'm incredibly appreciative to David, Josh Harris, and the entire New Jersey Devils organization for being part of my life for the past decade. Oh my gosh, the Devils are fortunate to have a core of great players, vocal, passionate fans, but most importantly, tremendous people who work with me toward a common goal. I've always said that New Jersey is a hidden gem, and I'm proud of my efforts that we put in to raise the standard and make it a destination. I look forward to the next step of my hockey career, and will look back fondly on my time with the Devils. I think this right here is exactly this. This sentence right here is exactly why you're seeing this statement right here. It all but confirms that Fitzgerald is obviously like he's going to try to work in hockey again. Um, but if you really care about the Tom Fitzgerald side of things, which I'm sure not many of you do, it's pretty clear that he's going to get the Nashville Predators job. If not, or he'll at least interview for it. But anyways, that's the bookend on the Tom Fitzgerald era, which they can put in print however much they want. I think that it has to be looked at as a disappointment. There's no other way to look at it. You look at since Jack Hughes came in the league in 2019, 2020, this is an organization that has only made the playoffs 2 times during that stretch. They're trending towards missing it for what a fifth time during that stretch. It's not those are not the results that should have been that this should be a team that's in the prime of their cup years and they're not able to get it done. And this was a wise decision for. Sorry, is my mic cutting in and out? Let me know. Somebody let me know. Am I cutting in and out? Um, it was a wise decision for the organization to move on. They had no other choice. I mean, this is just one of those things that you know Fitzgerald was almost in many ways becoming a disadvantage to the franchise, right? And when your GM is not an advantage to you, that's when you should move on, right? And at times there were many instances where Fitzgerald was actually working against the team. I do acknowledge that he's made some good moves. Connor Brown is proving to be a really good signing. Some of the trades that he's made, I still think Siegenthaler's a win, even though he hasn't had the most consistent season overall. I think taking the swing on Timo was good. The results have not been there though. There was, he took a swing on the goalie position, and the results have certainly not been there. And then he doubled down with that decision, and I think that probably in the end was his ultimate pitfall in the Tom Fitzgerald era was doubling down on Jacob Markstrom by giving him an extension that has not even kicked in yet. Such a mess. But look, we've been kind of banging the drum for the Devils to fire Fitzgerald all season long. We obviously freely admit that. You guys that have watched the show, you guys have followed me on Twitter. But I thought that this was the right decision. You don't want to see anybody get fired, but I thought that he was just not getting it done for this Devils team, and in many ways was hurting them actively because he was handing out no move clauses that would highly restrict the team going forward, the goalie position going forward too. I mean, it's a heck of a job. I think that it's going to be an attractive destination for sure for a GM that comes in, but this GM is going to have a lot of mess to clean up. There's no dancing around that. This GM is going to have a lot of tinkering that they're going to have to do coming in. And we will get to who some of these candidates might be in a second here. But wow, what stunning news here on a Monday evening. Tom Fitzgerald let go by the New Jersey Devils. I mean, I thought that we would see this happen after the season. But I did, I say that, and I did predict in my newsletter today that the Devils would retain him in a underling position. But that ended up not happening, and I think the root cause of that was, let's face it, the Devils are now missing out on quality candidates. Toronto's is already interviewing people. The top names in this, that are at least open on the sport. The National Predators, these two teams that have GM openings, you're not going to see like this. This I think becomes the most attractive job now, but it wouldn't have been all that attractive if it didn't open up soon enough, or if you had a lame duck GM still sitting there in the building as an underling to you. It might have just been kind of a weird setup. So I think biting the bullet and moving on from Fitzgerald was the right move in general, obviously. But let's go on. Let's go on to our comments here, guys. Please, if you could, support the channel via super chat. I'm going to set a goal right now, and we will get, if you want your questions heard ASAP, you can send in a super chat. I'm going to start that goal, but we will start here with some of the just regular comment section here, and we're reacting live to this. I guess a couple things that I can tell you off the top are that from what I understand, or from what I've been told, just texting people right after this, there will be no press conference for now. With anybody that no ownership will not be speaking as immediately. I'm sure they will once they make a hire, or maybe at year end exit interviews, or what have you. But right now, no one in the organization will be speaking. The other thing that I can tell you is that there is no current interim GM. There is no current interim GM of the New Jersey Devils. This is just, they're a captainless ship right now, so to speak. So maybe that's a sign that they'll be making a hire here pretty quickly. But let's talk about it, because I'm sure that the comment section, the comments are just pouring in. I'm sure asking all about the replacement candidates and whatnot. We start here with Cram One Art. Hallelujah. I thought it wouldn't happen this or next season. I thought, again, my predicted outcome for this was that this was going to end up being, sorry, let's just change the color here to red on the comments. Boom. I thought that my prediction was that this was going to happen, or that Fitzgerald was going to be an underling, right? And he was going to be retained, but he was going to be the general manager, and they would hire a president of hockey operations, maybe a Brendan Shanahan, whoever else. But yeah, I thought that they would, hang on to Fitzgerald. I think the fact that they're releasing the statement in this weird kind of joint, fashion is it points to the fact that maybe they wanted to keep him, but the pressure just got to be too much. Or Fitzgerald, maybe Fitzgerald just has opportunities lined up. Maybe this Nashville thing, maybe there's smoke to that. I mean, that I wrote in the newsletter today too that like Elliot Friedman was the one that first had or that first connected Fitzgerald to the Nashville job, right? And it seems like an obvious connection, right? Like Fitzgerald was that franchise's first captain, blah 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 blah. It's always gonna, the hockey's a good old boys club. It's always gonna, recycle the same 32 names in the sport. It seems like, right? Regardless of the success that they've had. But Elliot Friedman he's the best in the industry, and he's very careful with what he says. Okay. He's not just going to float out there that Tom Fitzgerald is potentially in the running for this Nashville job if he wasn't certain that there was going to be some movement happening there. So that's why I think that he was certain that there was going to be some movement happening there. And you've seen word that's leaked out over the past several weeks. I mean, it's all been, all the signs have kind of pointed to this. So, I digress. Anyways, Cram One Art, again, literally stopped watching Devils post Olympics. This might get me back next season, depending on who replaces Fitz. I think that's the question now, guys. I think that's the question now. Right now, it's got to be the big question is, and let's maybe go to. Well, first of all, let's find a question down below that just says who are the replacement candidates, blah blah blah. So we can talk about that, and you guys can see that on the screen. But first, be not asked, is there an interim GM? No, there is not. Let's see. Okay. Robert here says, so who are the possible candidates? We already lost out on some coaches. Yes, they sure did, and I think I think there's a couple things that pushed the Devils to the brink here. There was word out from Toronto that the Maple Leafs are connected to Sonny Mehta, the assistant GM from the Florida Panthers. That we on here on Speaking of the Devils and here in my written work at NJ.com, that's been my guy all along. He's the most interesting man in hockey. Huge analytics guy, poker player, two-time Stanley Cup champ with the Florida Panthers. Oh, and he has some Devils ties. He was running their analytics department just a handful of years ago, I believe in 2017. So he's at the top of the list, Sonny Mehta. But there was word out of Toronto that he was connected to the Leafs job there. So this must have been the kind of kick in the rear end that ownership needed to finally pull the trigger on that. Maybe that report did. And perhaps this, ends with Tom Fitzgerald, or sorry, Sonny Mehta being the GM of the New Jersey Devils. I mean, or he'll at least be a candidate. I can tell you that much. Beyond that, Brendan Shanahan's one that was mentioned earlier today. Let's see. I like throwing John Chayka in there. I like throwing. I had a candidates list just a number of years ago. Okay, we have Pierre LeBrun said that Fitzgerald had 1 year left on his contract. We'll see what more reporting trickles out over the next couple of days. I wonder if somebody will get the exclusive one-on-one with Fitzgerald after his ousting. Okay, the other ones that I was considering, I was more considering, like I did an article the other day where it was like 3 candidates that could be, that could be part of a front office makeover if Fitzgerald was, put in an underling kind of role. Doug Armstrong would be a long shot, but obviously would be a very good home run GM of the Blues. Mike Gillis is another one. Obviously he's 67 years old. Hasn't been in the league for a while, but has stayed around in the league. He's somebody that's well respected by his peers across the league. Took the Vancouver Canucks to won the President's Trophy 2 times with them. Took them to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. The knock on him is that obviously he hasn't been in the league in quite some time. So that's another one. Sonny Mehta, again, we mentioned him before. Couple other ones here. Again, John Chayka. Another one that hasn't been in the league in a while, but he stayed active with his AFP analytics. Or sorry, no, what is his analytics? Stathletes is the Chayka's analytics organization. Tyler Dello is another one, assistant GM of the Carolina Hurricane. Just get somebody that's willing to be bold. Get somebody from one of these hotshot organizations that are just not afraid. That has worked under somebody like Tulsky. That's worked under a Bill Zito. I almost said Barry Zito, former freaking Giants pitcher. Get somebody like that is willing to make a bold move, because I think what's going to fix the Devils is bold but calculated moves, right? Somebody that's unafraid to kind of be the villain a little bit to an extent. Like I feel like there was so many times where there was just too many half measures for Fitzgerald, like and he wouldn't necessarily make swings because I feel like the inside the front office they just found way too many excuses for guys that, oh, like this guy's, you can't trade Cody Glass, you can't trade X, you can't trade this prospect, you can't trade that. You hold on to these guys too long, and then they end up losing their value, and you wonder, oh my God, and even just the rushing to judgment, right? Like that's where the calculated aspect of whoever this new GM needs to be comes into play too. Don't rush into a Jonathan Kovacevic extension, because I feel like the writing was on the wall there that would not age well, and sure enough, it did. It did not age well. We'll see how it ages, going forward, of course, but for now, not a good season for him. All right, Josh Joseph, no surprise, bringing either Kate Madigan or Brendan Shanahan or Sonny from Florida. I don't see any of the internal people taking over for Fitzgerald. I just don't see it. This feels like the right time. Let's face it. Like if you're doing that, you might as well you're carrying on with the Ray Shero, like the late great Ray Shero. Fitzgerald took over for him, and he was kind of his underling before that. He was an AGM for Ray Shero, so you've had kind of the same group think for almost a decade now. It's time to get somebody else in the building. It's time to get an outside voice, a fresh perspective. You can have organizational ties for sure. You probably will end up, if you want the best candidate, which would be Sonny Mehta, you'll have somebody that has organizational ties with the Devils in that he ran their analytics department a number of years ago. But, he's far enough removed and he's had enough success since then that I think he'd be a home run candidate for New Jersey. But that's just why I don't see Kate Madigan kind of taking over. It's just, I see them wanting an outside voice. I see them wanting somebody, a fresh perspective on somebody to build this core the way it properly should be built, because right now it has not been built the way it properly should be. You're seeing results right now. You're seeing them when the Devils are dead and out of the race. Great, fine, whatever. But at the same time, they're getting wins. But I just don't know. I don't know how much stock we should put into those. Which is again why the Devils put in, and made this bold decision, which is good on them. Again, should have came much earlier, but I digress. All right, Justin Kelly says, I have my doubts that this is going to be an attractive job. Bunch of underperformed stars with several bad contracts. Well, Justin, I mean, again, you got to understand, any job that has Jack Hughes in the driver's seat running the franchise is going to be an attractive job, especially the way he's playing right now at the end of the season. It's going to be an attractive job, dude, 100%. And there's enough potential there with this core that that it's going to, the pieces around Jack are, at least the star pieces are, really solid players. It's just a matter of getting another guy in the top six there. What will the new guy that comes in, will he be unafraid to shake up the core so that, these underperforming stars, should they be on edge a little bit with this new decision? I don't know. We'll see what happens, but that's what's going to be interesting about having the next a new voice in. Modi says no way on Madigan, no holdovers unless named Marty. I have no doubt. I bet you Marty will stay within the organization. But because I don't think that his ties with Fitzgerald obviously are not the reason that he's with this team. Does Marty get a look at the GM job though? Does he get a look at the big time job? That's something that will be worth monitoring over the next couple of months, certainly, or next couple of weeks. Maybe they make a decision here soon if there is. What will the Devils do? Here's another interesting question. Will the Devils, they talked about, there were all these reports that came out about splitting up Fitzgerald and having him be the GM and hiring a president of hockey ops. Is the decision now to hire both a president of hockey ops and GM? Is that going to be the decision going forward? I wonder what the because that was something that they wanted to do when they hired Fitzgerald in the first place. They ended up not doing it, but I wonder to see if maybe they'll go back to do that. New Hampshire says Sonny Mehta is coming back. That would be the best decision there, New Hampshire, for sure. I think he's at the top of my list. Sonny Mehta is at the top of my list. I'll have a post on that probably tonight or tomorrow. But I think he again is the most interesting man in hockey. Let me go down and just read you guys a little snippet of his resume. Beyond the fact that he's a Jersey boy, he's currently the again assistant GM of the Florida Panthers, Wyckoff native. He won 2 Stanley Cups with the Panthers. He's also a data scientist, former professional poker player, a musician, a 2-time best-selling author. Let me catch my breath here. And he was an options trader. So he's the most interesting man in hockey, beyond the fact that he served as the director for hockey analytics for the Devils from 2014 to 2017. Oh, and by the freaking way, he follows me on Twitter. I'm joking. That's not the reason I want him on the staff. I just think he'd be a slam dunk hire. You just look at the resume right there. Medelander, how are we more attractive than Toronto? Because there's a talented young core here that is showing you right now that they could play well. Jack Hughes, and look at their record with, I don't know off the top of my head, but I know the Devils' record when Jack Hughes and Luke Hughes play this year is really good. And I think that you're finally starting to see like this team at full health right now, and things are looking really good. You just need a new voice to come in and mend some of the broken moves that Fitzgerald made. Some of the moves that weren't the smartest decisions. Clean up that bottom 6. Finally get a top 6 wing, a scoring wing, plunk a scoring wing on Jack's wing there. I would like to see that. Southside Johnny says, assuming Keefe won't stay with new GM. This is another interesting point that we have to start talking about now, too. What does this mean for Sheldon Keefe? Huh? What does this mean for one Sheldon Keefe? They haven't fired him. They haven't fired him as of 7:28 p.m. on April 6th. Maybe they're just letting him ride out the season, and maybe you're right. Maybe that is the just a decision that the new general manager is going to have to make. They want to have some cohesion with them and the next guy, but it is intriguing that they just made this decision to fire Fitzgerald and not Sheldon Keefe. Now, granted, you could go without having an interim GM for several weeks or a week or two here, however long is left in the season. You still got like 4 games to go, and what are you going to do? Just like fire Keefe? It honestly might just be a logistical mess to fire Keefe at this point. Maybe you just let him go at the end of the season. All I know is this: tomorrow's going to be very interesting. Tomorrow's game versus the Flyers is now very, very, very interesting. I'm curious to see how the players react to this, how Keefe reacts to this. I think the number one question for Keefe has got to be, look, like, are you worried about what this means for your job security? We'll see what ends up happening, but potentially a new GM will come in and see what the system tweaks that that Keefe made in the second half of the season here, and maybe they'll be pleased with the results there, see that there's something that can be, that they can work with there based on, the Devils finally playing an off the rush style, and not this 2-way defensive, boring 1-0 game mess. We'll see what happens, but I'm very curious. I'm glad you asked this, Johnny, because I've been very curious to see what this means for the Keefe end of things. Josh Joseph, bringing Sonny Mehta. Vic says, are there some names that could be possible options? I don't know anything about other GMs. Yeah, if you rewind a little bit there, Vic, I mentioned a bunch of them. I mentioned, again, I would say my number one on the list is obviously Sonny Mehta. Brendan Shanahan, you have to throw in there too. I know that we saw his name floated out there today from, I think it was on Daily Faceoff somewhere. You can just search his name on Twitter. I'm sure the clip will come up. Other names you have to watch. I mean, just look at the names that are leaking out across the league with these other searches, and they will probably end up being in the Devils search too. Mike Gillis, former Vancouver Canucks GM, who's had some success. Tyler Dello, Carolina Hurricanes assistant GM, who also has Devils ties too. These are all names that can be thrown out there. I just think John Chayka, another guy that hasn't GM'd in a number of years here, but is certainly an interesting and well respected name across hockey. A lot of interesting names out there. A lot of guys that I think I'm curious to see. It's a shame that ownership isn't speaking, because I'm curious to see what kind of balance, like, do they want to lean into the analytics as much as, I know that Toronto, their owner came out directly and said that exactly that they want to lean into the analytics side of things and lead into the skill and everything like that. What I'm curious what this GM's mindset will be, whoever it may be. It's so exciting, guys. We got new life. We got new life now. The Devils season was just circling the drain, and it was so boring over the past couple weeks. I know that you guys did not care, right? The post-game streams, the reason that they didn't, necessarily the reason they kind of stopped was basically because you guys didn't care. And I understand, because I'll be honest, there were times where I didn't care at this point. This adds a new layer of excitement. The GM search this is going to dominate the news cycle here in New Jersey Devils land. So this is something to see. Bryster 061. This will be the first true leadership change. Yeah, this is a good point. First true leadership change since 2015. There was no change in hockey ops when they moved on from Shiro and promoted Fitz. Very true. Very true. I mean, it was this similar vision. Fitz or Shiro was a mentor to Fitz. Very intrigued to see what this, like, you're going to see a whole new identity potentially with this new GM coming in, right? And that goes top to bottom, right? Like, will it be a stricter guy coming in like a, I'm not saying like a Lou. I'm not putting Lou Lamoriello's name out there, although it would be fascinating. But I'm saying organizational identity, right? You're going to see the way that GMs have a say in everything. They have a say in communication styles that leak out. They have a say in broadcast that leaks out. They have a say in pretty much everything, top to bottom. Curious to see what the new culture of the Devils organization looks like under this new guy, whoever it ends up being. And that stems into a lot of different things. Again, it's not just personnel decisions; it's a whole heck of a lot. And I'm very curious to see new scouts coming in, new everything coming in. This is exciting stuff, guys. Tyler Seba, this needs to lead to a clean out. Yeah, exactly what I just mentioned there. This needs to lead to a clean out. No one in the front office should be safe. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I think that there are people in that front office that are respected, not only just in the building, which at this point doesn't show, or probably doesn't have a lot of credence to Devils fans or people across the league, but I think people across the league do respect a lot of people in that front office, and I don't know that we'll see major. I can't really predict much, but I think we'll see a lot of changes up top. But I wonder, pro scout wise, amateur scout wise, if some guys stay, some guys don't. We'll see what ends up happening. Plastic Go Baby is the dude wearing sunglasses in preparation for Sonny to return. What a great point there, Plastic Go Baby. Yeah, that's exact. No, I actually just came in from outside and I was wearing these. And I'll say this too. The reason that I keep these sunglasses on, and you guys will know this if you're a loyal listener, I do it because one day we were in the Prudential Center and James Nichols, the disgusting, deplorable Jimmy Nichols, got so angry that I was wearing these inside that every day since I have worn these sunglasses just like this inside every single building that I've gone into, just because it makes James Nichols mad. So that's the origin story behind that. Okay. Let's move on because we have one second. Let me just tweet out. Let me tweet out my link here. Sorry, everybody. There's a lot. I mean, this is a lot going on right now. I'm just tweeting out the link to the story that my boss wrote. Let's see. I'm sorry, everybody. This is great radio, isn't it? This is great radio. Boom. Tweeted out the link. Boom. All right. Sorry. Uh, brief hold, and now we're good. Dr. MacArthur, they should hire Diego Lopez as new GM. Who's Diego Lopez? Am I missing out on somebody? Diego Lopez, NHL. I don't think that's. I don't know who that is. Sorry if I'm missing something obvious here. Like somebody let me know. But this is I don't know who that is. Anyways, move on. But thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. Sorry about that. Let me just find where I was in the comments section. Okay. All right. We have new reporting out here from Emily Kaplan of ESPN, who stresses that it has been stressed to me that NJ parting with ways with Fitzgerald. I'm going to pull up the tweet here so you guys can see it, so I'm not just rambling here. It has been stressed to me that NJ parting the ways with Tom Fitzgerald was as amicable as it could be. No interim. Devil's search for new GM begins immediately. Timing of it happening now definitely puts Fitzgerald in the mix for Nashville opening. We'll see what happens. No surprise there. No surprise there. I mean, look, word is going to trickle out as much as it will about how amicable it was or how it wasn't. The bottom line is that Fitzgerald's no longer with the organization, so it couldn't have been as amicable as possibly could be. But you got to think that it is definitely fascinating to note the timing of it. And exactly like he's going to be in the mix for this national job. He's probably going to get this national job. Eddie Strachia says, Novo, it's a shame Tom won't be here to answer for his crimes, but are you able to ask someone from the top the following? I don't see your other comment. So I apologize, Eddie. But look, I think at some point, obviously, ownership will speak. Obviously, we'll get that press conference to you delivered here on Speaking of the Devils and the aftermath, too. But look, at the end of the day, like we just, it is a shame but I do think that Fitzgerald, for all of my critiques of him this year and over the years, stuff like that, Fitzgerald at least he faced the music. He didn't hide. I mean, there were times where he did hide and he got media requests and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, like I'm not going to fault him because he ended up, speaking to us in roundtable fashion when things were really going bad for the season. So you got to give him credit for that. Did it take a lot of pressure? It sure did. But at the end of the day, he still did it, and then he faced the noise at the trade deadline too. So all of that is admirable from him. And I'm sure in the next couple of weeks or days or whatever, he's going to have some sort of public comments or whatever. I mean, he had that statement today, but he's going to talk to like Pierre LeBrun or something like that in the Athletic, and they're going to get the story there. All right, we move on. Tyler Siva, I'm 100% on board with running it back with Keith. Colleton cannot be back. For sure there, yeah, the power play's been a mess this year. Defensively, things have been kind of a mess too. Look, I'm very curious to see what the next GM would potentially think of like a Keith, right? Would they think of him? Would they see the body of work from the first half of the season and be scared off by that? Or do they look at this second half of the season as this is great and this is not a fluke? Or do they look at it as, dude, you've played some pretty crappy teams, but they've also played some pretty successful teams there too. But how much those successful teams have to play for remains to be seen. So these are all interesting questions. All right, 1 second, moving on. Teeter Modi now fire Rogalski and the training team. I wonder how many sweeping changes it's going to lead to. I can't see why any GM would come in here and look at the production from the goalie room of the past several years and think to themselves, yeah, this Dave Rogalski guy, this is somebody that we need to keep. That's just me personally. For some reason, he's stuck around in this organization. He's kind of like a cockroach. He won't go away. But yeah, to me, it's very much that's somebody that you got to circle or you got to put close to the top of the list of sweeping changes to be made. Um, moving on. Teeter Modi, Keefe is up to new management unless players want him gone, in my opinion. They were way too nice. Um, Yeah, there's a couple comments here coming in too. Sue Nathan says, "Please don't tell me they will just hire Chuck Flesher." Yeah, I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening. I think that would lead to probably a revolt throughout the fan base. If you thought Tom Fitzgerald was bad, get ready for Chuck Fletcher hockey. Look, I don't see that happening. Just to put your mind at ease there, but stranger things have happened. I totally see this coming to being a completely outside move. You'll almost certainly see a devil's tie or two, just because the hockey is so intertwined and I hate to use this term, but incestuous in a way that everybody has worked for every organization. There's way too many ties, to other GMs, coaches, players. Fitzgerald alone was related to the Kachucks, and by extension through marriage was related to Craig Oster's wife or something like that. I forget. There's a whole heck of a lot of connections here in hockey. You're gonna find somebody. The next guy that comes in will probably have some way, shape, or form devil's ties. Let's just hope that it's Sonny Mehta who was running their analytics department from 2014 to 2017. I just don't see it being Chuck Fletcher. Cheeseburger Daddy. Y'all think Marty or Lou Lamoriello will get a look? I don't see Lou getting a look. I think Lou is too old at this point. Um, it would be fun. It would be really fun. Marty, I don't know. You don't want to hire the franchise legend as your GM because that makes it all the more hard for you to fire him if he's bad too. Um, that's just the way I see it. And let's face it. I mean, the output of these goalies over the past several years, and Marty's been in the organization, and he has a lot of say in the goalie department, has not been good. So if you can't trust him to do that, how can you trust him to? Oh, they say I'm muted. How can you trust him to run a team going forward? My gosh, having some mic issues. Sorry about that, folks. All right, guys. Well, I have to get to writing now. This is crazy news coming out of the Devils organization today. Tom Fitzgerald fired. I don't care what the parting the ways thing is. Tom Fitzgerald fired by the New Jersey Devils today. Monumental news. You go back and listen to this recap, and guys, we will be having a whole heck of a lot more content coming out over the next coming days. We'll probably go live after tomorrow's game just to discuss it a little bit more and feel all the news that has came out since then. But until then, guys, have a great day. I will talk to you then. Bye bye.